Hi everyone, it's Shauna here from Shauna's Designs, and today I'm going to be creating for you a card for Limor Webber Designs. I am so excited because today I'll be using a stamp from her new release that's over at IndigoBlu. She's got a new stamp collection that she's coming out with, and the stamp that I'll be using today is called the Ink Splat Heart. So this is what it looks like. This one, I believe, let's see, this one is the A6 size. So this is the large one. She does have one that's a little bit smaller. That is, let me show you. So this one, you can see the size difference. There's like really a big size difference compared to that. And this one is considered an A7. So I'll be using this size today, as well as one of the stamps from the Rugged Edge stamp set. This one is just an amazing honeycomb style background. She's got like one that's just completely totally an ink splat and a grid, and the stitching, I absolutely love the stitching. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, what I'm going to do for my card is I'm going to use a static pouch, and I'm just going to rub it all over and make sure there's nothing stuck to my pouch, because I'll be using some Lindy Stamp Gang Magicals, and I want to make sure that nothing sticks where I don't want it to. So here is my stamp I'll be using, and I'm going to be using the Versamark Watermark stamp pad. This is just to use with embossing powders or sticky. It's just a pad, and it's really sticky. It looks like there's nothing on it, but well, of course mine is dirty because I've had it for years. But I'm just gonna stamp my stamp, or ink up my stamp, and I'm gonna do some random splotches. And I have no clue where I'm placing it. There's no strategic plan with this. I'm just having fun and doing what I think will look good. And some more. Let's go ahead and ink it all the way across. Let's use this and use this. And I'm just making sure that I'm pushing down good and hard with an even pressure. I don't want to miss too many spots. So for my favorite part of this technique, let me go ahead and just kind of wipe this up here. I'm going to be using the Steel Shimmer from the Industrial Chic Magical Set. And I'm going to use, where's my brush? I'm going to use just it's like a square brush. It's got, it's just a square, that's the best way to put it. It's called a shader brush, but I don't actually paint. So for me, it's just a square flat brush. You can also use a fan brush. However, I'm going to use the fan brush to make sure I've got it all cleaned off. A blush brush, I don't know exactly, I want to call it a blush brush to me because it reminds me of a facial blush brush. But you just want to use something just to kind of pounce it on there. You don't want to use too much pressure with this technique. So here I'm just dipping the end of my brush in, and you can see I have just a little bit on there, not too much, and gently, and I mean just gently drag it and kind of push the magical into where you have stamped that Versamark ink into the card. So just again, just a little bit, and small circular motions to move that powder around. And again, you want to be light-handed. You don't want to go too heavy with it, because you don't want too much ink concentrated in one area, like some of these areas are splotched. And look at how light that is. If you want it to stay light, like you can barely see it. So here, so you can see how light it is right here and how dark and concentrated. If you want it darker, just go over it with a little bit more. Or if you want it lighter, just be very light with it. Maybe start off the page and come in. Would be a good way for blending that out. But I want mine dark. I want it to be bold, and I want it to really stand out. And you can see that it's not perfect, which is completely totally fine. For me, this is mixed media. It doesn't have to be perfect. blend it, blend. Kind of tap some off because I don't need too much more. And like I said, the more you add, the darker it'll get until you see its full color. And then because this is a Versa, actually, you know what? Just a little bit more. There should still be some sticky on here. Trying to find some sticky because I haven't wiped it off yet. So I'm going to go ahead and just stamp just a little bit more because I want it all the way to the top of my card. Just go over that with some more. It's a really fun and simple technique. I'm going to close this up because I don't want to spill it or lose it. I'm going to set that aside to clean it because there is, because the Versamark is still considered like a wet medium, I'm going to give it a quick heat set and make sure it's dry. And the only reason why I did that is because my next step will be to go back in with Versamark again. So you can see that shimmer is not just amazing. You can see some light parts. You can see some dark parts. Again, I'm not trying to be perfect by any means. I just want it to be unique and creative. So now I'm going to go in with my heart stamp. I'm going to make sure it's on my acrylic block really well. Again, I'm going to take my ink and I'm going to go to town. I want to make sure everything is covered well so that when it goes on the card, when it goes on here, in fact, you know what, let's go ahead and go back over this again with the static pouch so nothing sticks to any of that Versamark if it didn't get dry from the heat gun. Okay. And then again, just keep inking it up. It's a big stamp. I want to make sure that it's good and covered. Let's position it. Just bam. And push down. Make sure you give even pressure. I got to kind of tap this little side over here because my acrylic block isn't big enough. But that's completely okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. And take that off. Put it over here to be clean. And now what I'm going to do for my card, I'm going to use some embossing powder. And I have some red that I want to use up, so I'm just going to go ahead and grab that. Put a sheet underneath to catch any excess. And just cover it up. Because it's such a big stamp, I may go back in with a little bit more just to make sure I got everything covered. Just tap off that excess so you can see where it was. Like I said, some of the, you can see here I didn't dry it from the Versamark from before. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this paintbrush and I'm just going to kind of brush it off. It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. And again, there's ink splotches everywhere, so you're not going to really know if you messed up if you messed up your stamping too much. So I pushed a little too hard on one side. But it's okay because I'm just going to, like I said, just brush it off a little bit and just tap it. If you tap the back, it's actually better. So I'm going to go ahead and finish cleaning this up a little bit and give it a heat set, and I'll be back to show you how that looks. All right, now that I've got it all good and heat set, you can see there's some red glitter in there. You can see where it is embossed. You can hear it and feel it between the difference of everything else. And it did really good, and my camera just doesn't want to catch the actual detail, which is not my brain right now. But you'll be able to see, I'll get some good pictures when I post it on the blog and when I get the photos up for the video. So the next step to do this, I'm going to add some ink splatter, which is one of my favorites to do. I love this color, Cotton Candy. It's a Faber-Castell gelato. I'm going to do the blue, the cotton candy, and I'm also going to do some in the black. And all I do is just rub them on my craft sheet, as you can see that I'm doing here. And then I'm going to take, I'm going to have 2 different paintbrushes for this. So I'm going to go ahead and use one for the black. I'm just going to dip it in some water. I always have like a little can when I'm doing anything mixed media, just a like baked bean can. Take off the label and wash it out good so I can have something just for my water. So I've got one for my black and I've got one for my blue. And I'm just going to do some splatter. Now you can see with this, because it is a smaller brush, you're going to get smaller splatter. If you want one bigger, use a wider brush, like the one I was using for my magicals that still has a little bit of shimmer. I'm going to dip it in here. Let me add just a little bit more to this. And I'm going to wash off that shimmer dust and put it in here, soak up some of that water, and bam, look at how much larger those splatters are. So if you want bigger splatters, go with a bigger brush. If you want little splatter, go with a smaller brush. I'm going to give this a quick heat set. Because I do not want my colors to muddle together. And the awesome thing about doing embossing is that ink is going to come off anything that's embossed. So I'm just kind of tapping around it so it doesn't spill out later. And for my black, I'm just going to go in here and I'm just going to tap it. And just look, I just love that. I really do. I love that. I'm going to take the bigger brush. I'm going to soak up some more of that black. This may actually turn out gray because I've watered it down so much. So I'm just going to get some more of that black, make it a little darker, and add some larger splotches. Another cool fun thing you can do is you can dip it in some water and soak up some of that ink and just squeeze it together for big drops. So again, just pick up a little bit of water, soak up some of that ink, and drop it and squeeze it for some larger drops. So soak up, I'm going to soak up this, I'm telling you, I love little splatter ink splatters. It's so fun. And just kind of shake it around. And that I will give a good heat set. I think I might do some bigger blues. Kind of just do what I did with the black there and squeeze. And squeeze. And let me clean this up. You can always too, to make it fun, just kind of tap it or move it. If you don't like the way it looks, just kind of clean it up a little bit. I always think that's fun to do, to add a little bit more. And you can see too how much texture that adds, no matter what, that embossing is going to be on top. So this is basically the quickest tutorial I could do for you with using some fun techniques that I like with the Faber-Castell gelatos, and of course with the Lindy Stamp King Magicals. And Limor's new stamps. I'm going to go ahead and finish this off with the sentiment and show you the finished pictures. Thank you so much for joining me on this quick tutorial. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I will get back to you. Make sure you check out Limor Webber Designs, the store and the blog. I will have the links down below. Thank you so much for stopping by and have a wonderful day.